Welcome to Today Book. Today, we are going to talk about an art that has almost been forgotten in our busy world. And that art is the art of being alone. Renuka Gavrani's book delves deep into this very topic and teaches us how to transform our loneliness into a powerful solitude. So, this is a journey that will start from the noise of the outside world and end in our inner peace. So, let's start with the most basic question. What is it about the thought that we are alone that creates a strange restlessness within us? It's something to think about, isn't it? And look, this is not just one person's problem. This is a collective fear that is ingrained in the fabric of our society. This book explores the roots of this fear and tells us that this fear is not natural but has been taught to us. From childhood, we are programmed in a way. We are made to believe that being alone is a punishment. It's a failure, which means that no one has accepted us. And this is the social script that we unconsciously adopt without thinking. And then what happens? This script becomes the truth of our lives. Remember your school days. The book mentions a girl who was always alone. Lunch alone, walked alone in the corridor, and how did everyone look at her? With pity. This is what our society teaches us, that a lonely person is weak and undesirable. And this thought becomes so deeply ingrained that we become dependent on the presence of others for our happiness and peace. And to be honest, the root of the problem is exactly this. We are not afraid of being alone as much as we are afraid of what people will think when they see us alone. Those inner voices that come, oh, won't people think that I don't have any friends? Won't I be considered a loser in the race of life? This very fear, this is the burden that prevents us from meeting ourselves. Okay. So now we come to the most important turning point of this analysis. This book teaches us to draw a clear line between two different things. On one side is being alone, and on the other side is suffering from loneliness. It may sound similar, but there is a world of difference between them. And understanding this difference is the first and most important step towards change. So, what is this loneliness? It is, in fact, an inner state, a mental prison. It is that feeling that gnaws at us from within. That tells us that we are incomplete, that our happiness is somewhere outside, in other people. It is a cage that we have built ourselves and imprisoned ourselves in. And it doesn't matter how many people are around us. And now, completely opposite to this is solitude. Solitude is not a compulsion. It is a choice, a conscious decision. It is that time when we cut off from the world and connect with ourselves. It is not a cage, but a home that we build within ourselves. A refuge where we calmly listen to our thoughts, pursue our hobbies, and explore the depths of our being. Here, the difference is very clear. On one side is the cage that is built on the opinions of others and diminishes our self-esteem. And on the other side is the home that is built from our inner connection and increases our self-confidence. Simply put, loneliness is a compulsion, while solitude is a luxury. So, the question now is, how can this beautiful home be built by breaking this cage? The answer is simple. This journey is not of the outside world, but of our inner self. Its sole purpose is to know and like the person with whom we spend the most time. That is, ourselves. This quote perfectly describes the biggest obstacle on this journey. We are so afraid of the sound of our own thoughts that we constantly seek refuge in noise. But what happens? In this noise, we lose our true voice, and the cost of not finding ourselves is very high. A life lived on the expectations of others, not by our own will. So, what is the first step? Just sit in silence and listen to the noise going on inside you. The aim here is not to suppress those thoughts. Absolutely not. Rather, it is to simply observe them like a witness, to understand them. To try to know what fears, what desires, and what dreams are buried deep within us. It is assumed that this is the first and perhaps the most difficult step in meeting oneself. But it is also the most important. And when we start this journey, when we become friends with solitude, then we get its reward. And this reward is not a small thing. It is a superpower. A power that makes us creative, gives us focus, and makes us mentally very strong. If we look at history, we find that the world's greatest innovators, artists, and thinkers were all admirers of solitude. They all knew how important it was to step away from the noise of the world and listen to their inner voice to do any real and deep work. For them, solitude was not a weakness, but their greatest strength. And in today's world, its importance is even greater. This digital world of ours, where every moment some notification is ready to distract us. In this noise, to think deeply and to focus on one task, this ability has become a rare and invaluable skill. This is a new luxury, and solitude gives us this skill. Okay, so far we have understood why solitude is important and what its benefits are. Let's talk about practical steps now. The question is, how can we change our alone time from a burden to an enjoyable habit that we look forward to? Let's look at some ways to lay the foundation of this home. This question is very important. How to transform alone time into time for progress. Look, the goal is not just to pass time, but to use that time for our growth. Think of it as an empty canvas on which we can fill the colors of our choice. So the question is, what are those colors? These are 3 very simple but powerful ways. First, create happiness for yourself. Do things that truly make you feel good. Second, learn new skills. Challenge yourself. Learn something new. And third, feed your mind. Books, podcasts, anything. When you do all this, your inner world becomes so rich and interesting that you no longer need anyone else for your happiness. You become self-sufficient. And this is the real challenge. And perhaps the most powerful step. Do the things that you always wanted to do with others, for yourself. Go to that restaurant alone where you thought of going with someone. Watch that movie alone for which you were waiting for a companion. When we take responsibility for our own happiness, this act truly liberates us. This call is the essence of this whole journey. The scary news is that you are alone now. This may seem frightening at first, because now all the responsibility is ours. But the good news is that you are alone now. This very feeling is the biggest source of freedom, because now we can live our lives on our own terms. So these are 2 sides of the same coin. Fear and freedom, and the choice is ours which side we want to look at. If this discussion has helped you to look at things from a new perspective, please like, subscribe, and definitely share it with your family and friends who want to upgrade their lives.